Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom, serving in some of the harshest situations to secure that freedom across the globe. This is the Lounge with Legends show, celebrating their transformation from battlefield to business. The Lounge with Legends show with Marty the Moac Martinez and James A. Phelps, a.k.a. Spartan 6.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
How'd that happen?
Oh man, I almost went to sleep there. You're showing all the commercials, aren't you?
I know, kind of messed it up a little bit. Trying to keep you on your game. I wanted to thank our sponsors, me, Hoodies.
Oh man.
So episode 11. This is awesome. I can't believe we're already at 11. This is great. But before we get to that, how was your Father's Day? It was had Father's Day over the weekend.
Yeah, had a great Father's Day. I was able to do a couple things, and unfortunately, life happens. I think we were talking about it earlier. I had to attend a funeral actually on Father's Day, so that part there was not planned. But unfortunately, had one of my battalion executive officers had passed away that I worked for in the past, so I had to be there. How you all know how we feel as commanders, and one of your soldiers or someone you have worked with, you owe that, show the family respect.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that it's a hard decision to make, but the families appreciate that, and it's one of those sacrifices that we make as leaders. But I know that they appreciate that, James, and it was hard for you to do that, but that's what this show is about. It's about helping people that may be in a dark place realize that there's someone out there, and there's going to be a friend that you can depend on. It's just about having that outreach, and that there is success, and there's people around you. There's people like, Lamont Christian that have been successful, and then our guest today, and there's James Feltz, and there's somebody there. There's somebody in your circle, in your tribe, that'll be there for you. You just gotta know that tribe. And
Absolutely.
so even on Father's Day, they'll be there for you.
Right. Well, I was blessed. My family supported my decision to go. They understood. There was no question. Hey, should you go? It was like, hey, what time are you coming back? So it was a understood thing. But at the end of the day, we're all stronger together, and we're better together than we are as individuals. So that's what it's about, helping the others. Just don't be a fair weather friend. You got to come around when the storm's there too, just not when the good times there. So anyway.
Yeah. Hey, we got a weekly dose of Dano.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Dano, thanks for tuning in. One of our biggest fans.
Well, the good thing is we're actually going to be on Dano's show on July 1st.
Did I agree to this?
Yes.
Of course.
I love it when you find out something live. It's always the reaction's always true and honest.
No, of course we're going to be on there. No, this is a good weekend for me as well with Father's Day, and now we're doing and now Isabella had, my daughter Coach had she just started her advanced ballet, and so we had coding camp and ballet. So she's getting on, and she's doing her reading, and she told me, Dad, I like to read. I just hope I don't read enough that I'm going to need classes and be, but I'm okay being a nerd like you, Dad. I'm like, oh, that's cool, honey. And so this week we started, I let her watch TV, and then in the afternoons I make sure we do some sort of STEM learning. So yesterday we did science, and of course, being the nerd dad, as everyone knows, I was a modeling and a simulation officer before I retired. And so I was teaching her about how
What were you modeling?
Not my fat butt, but so I was teaching her how sound works, and I bought her this science set. So we teach her, it's physical, and we should learn how it works. And then we also leveraging augmented reality. That blew her mind, because after we built it, now the lesson comes and we're looking at it through the iPad, and it's using augmented reality. And she's like, what? Wait, okay, what is this? So I took a picture of her trying to kick the thing with her foot. And I'm like, honey, focus on what's going on here. So it's going to be fun. I think next week we're going to learn about earthquakes. So trying to make sure that she's ready for third grade. So, but. Are you ready for our guest?
I'm ready. This is a true legend coming to us today. 21 years of military service. I think our first guest that still might have the uniform on, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah.
Marty, our first one. So that's awesome. I can't imagine, having retired, I cannot imagine how to multitask enough to be able to, start your own business.
I know.
And not only start a business, but be successful in it too. So
I know she is flying in the face of everything that I say when I say multitasking is bullshit. And here she comes in, just flying in the face of it. It's kind of pissing me off, because I say you can't multitask, and here she is going to have started her own business and being a successful lieutenant colonel. Soraya's coming in. So we served together. She's a combat vet. We served together in Hawaii. And I've been dropping hints about how Lamont from episode 3, Big Red Barn, I took a picture of him, America's drill sergeant, earlier in the week. So Lamont was my first sergeant when I was a company commander with 127 Wolfhounds. Next week's guest, the Rainbow Warrior, coming on with what's that other guy that was episode 2?
I think he has a show called Bathrobe Moments.
Bathrobe Moments. That guy, Lauren Michaels Harris. Grammy Award winning, pain in my butt. Called me
Eddie, in front of it.
He called me Eddie Munster, I do believe.
He does.
So I served with JB Hasso in the Wolfhounds, the 2nd Brigade, and Soraya was there in the 2nd Brigade with us as well. So I'm excited to have her on. So it's enough of us talking. Let's bring on our guest. You ready?
I'm ready.
Bam.
Wait. You do it all the time. All the time.
I did it wrong.
Oh, he does it every time. Every time he does that.
Oh, I love it. Hello, friends. It's so good to be here.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I love listening to you. I forgot I was actually going to come on the show. I was just like sitting and watching. So this is fantastic.
James talks too much.
That's what everybody told me.
Probably the other way around, but that's okay.
It is, I know. But so awesome. We're glad you're here. We're glad that you're taking time out of your busy day of multitasking, flying in the face of everything I say. I actually teach a class where I start off and I say time management is bullshit. It's actually about decision management and task management, because time management, you're not going to get any more than 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week. It's actually about deciding on which task you're going to do. I mean, here Absolutely. You come in kicking ass and I'm like, okay, wait.
But I mean, so I'm not multitasking. I'm just switching between what's a priority in the moment, right? And you can have lots of important things, but you can really only work on one of them at a time. So it's not like I have some crazy superpower. I just switch back and forth.
Told you, James.
Yeah.
He said,
I actually said that there was a superpower involved, so I apologize.
There is no superpower. I wish there was, because I would be a multi-billionaire. I would bottle it and sell it.
Right. He said it comes from her hair. That's why she has all the bands.
There you go. Right.
So, Soraya, let's back up. Okay, so you came into the Army. Is that where you started? You didn't have like anything crazy like that we don't know about, like Navy or anything?
God,
like
no. None of that. Yeah, came into the Army. I got commissioned through ROTC. Came in May of 2000, which obviously was a very different world.
Yep.
It was I mean, you guys understand. It was the Clinton era, BRAC, shutting bases down, riffing people out. We were lucky to apply to get on active duty after we, finished ROTC. So obviously that all changed about a year and a half later. So commissioned through ROTC as a second lieutenant in the Medical Service Corps. And my plan initially was to serve 4 years and get out. And that didn't work out so well. 21 years later.
So what was that initial call to serve?
It wasn't a call to serve. So, I have this theory, and you guys are probably better equipped to give me some feedback on this. But my theory is that most people, there are some exceptions, but most people, particularly back when we all joined, most people didn't do it for patriotic reasons. They did it for selfish reasons. And I think that that's perfectly acceptable and great. I did it because the Army decided to tell me that they were going to give me a 4-year scholarship and pay room and board at a really expensive private school that I was already going to go to. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't have any lineage of service in my family. I didn't even really comprehend what the Army was. Now, for context, I grew up in Northern California, not in a military environment or around any military bases. And so I really just thought, I mean, you're going to laugh at this, but I really thought that I would do 4 years of college. We'd kind of play guns in the woods for a little bit, here and there. I would join the Army. I would work in some hospital for 4 years, learning some administrative tasks, maybe do some more run around guns in the woods type training, and then be done, do my 4 years and go out. And what I quickly learned through ROTC, I mean, it really took me about a year. Now, I understand ROTC is not the real Army, but I went on a couple of FTXs. I got to know the staff, a lieutenant colonel and a master sergeant. I got to really be around peers that all impressed the hell out of me. I mean, they were all exactly like me. They were driven, they were people oriented, they were team oriented. And then of course we had a mission. And so it very quickly came, it started out as I'm doing this for financial reasons. And then over time has transformed into I'm here for the team and the mission and the greater purpose. But that was not an overnight thing. So it was straight up for money.
Where'd you go to college? Where was your ROTC program?
University of San Francisco, go Dons. So a small private school in the middle of San Francisco, which again, not a military environment. In fact, probably the most polar opposite from a military environment that you can get.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So that was different than my story because I came in because like it's the family business. It's like we're like the Mexican Lieutenant Dan. Everyone had served in the military prior to, um, but nobody had died really. But yeah, and had my dad had a better argument, I probably would have gone in the Marines because his thing was, do you want to go in the Army or the Marines? I'm like, I'm going in the Army. Well, if they say, hey, Marine, doesn't that sound better than hey, soldier? I'm like, that's your argument? No, I'm going to them. I'm going to be a Ranger. So that was my dad's whole argument. That's why I'm not a Marine. Plus, the recruiter never called me back. But
well, it's funny you say that though, because I quickly went from someone who had no concept of even what the Army didn't know anyone who served, to all in a matter of a couple very short months. And then it was like, okay, well, how hardcore can I get? Right? How aggressive can I get? And at the time, women couldn't branch combat arms, even though I actually put field artillery, and like that was the closest you could get at the time. I put it way up on my list, number 2. But I put medical service corps number 1 because someone said, hey, you want to do something where there's a usable skill when you get out. And I was like, okay, sure, why not? Let's do that. And lo and behold, I got it. Thankfully, I got assigned to an infantry division. And so that's where you and I met, Marty. So I spent the first 10 years working my way, into BCTs and having a blast. If I could have gone to Ranger school when I was a lieutenant, you better believe I would have signed up. I'm way too old for that now. Way too old for that nonsense now. But at the time, I fell in love with the people and the excitement. It was such an adventure. And then of course, 9/11 and the deployment, nonstop train. So
yeah.
So you joined ROTC out of California, then you got assigned to Hawaii. The next assignment, your first assignment was Hawaii.
I have a rough life. Yeah. It's a very pity party story, right?
I don't know. I messed up somewhere. I didn't get the memo. I put everywhere but Fort Bragg and got Fort Bragg.
Yeah. My husband who did 12 years active duty, never wants to hear any kind of quote unquote war stories, no matter how difficult they actually were, because I have served in probably the most incredible duty stations possible. I did 10 years in Hawaii. I came out to Fort Sam Houston, the home of the Army Medical Department. So San Antonio, Texas, which is a lovely place. Did a tour there. That's actually where I am now. I've served in a JBLM out in Washington State, in DC, with, schooling in between, but like all the places that I've spent any decent amount of time have been fantastic. That's not to say that I certainly haven't deployed or worked hard or done 13 CTC rotations, because I have. So, it's a lovely balance, right? When I was home, I got to surf and play around, but being home is not something we didn't do that often.
How much longer do you plan on staying in, if you had a guess?
I am dropping my retirement paperwork this December for a retirement of December 22. So I'll pin on 06 actually on the 1st of August.
Congratulations.
It's kind of exciting. Yeah, thank you. And but I'm not doing my obligatory 3 years. It's time to go. Business growth is calling, and I have loved the Army, and I will continue to love it for the next 18 months that I'm active duty, 18 months. Mm-hmm. And then I'll gracefully exit on top and walk right into my business.
Awesome.
That's pretty impressive that you're getting the eagle and you're willing to say, I'm walking off the field. I'm going to do that. That's good. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah. I mean, so I served as a battalion commander, and after a successful battalion command, they want to promote you and send you to the war college and give you another command. And that was a real decision point for me. What do I want in life? Like, what am I really here for? I could have easily continued, and it would have been lovely. And it for the people who do, it's a great choice. But at some point, my husband and I have had this discussion recurring for many, many years. what do we want out of life? Do we want to go where it's comfortable, or do we want to actively pursue the things that are really important to us? Right. And sometimes there's multiple things that are important to us. And so we've got to really rank those. What is the thing that is most important? And for us, it's spending time with each other, having a little bit more flexibility to see family and spend time with our parents who are not getting any younger, and take vacations when we want, like the little things, the things that we work really hard for that a lot of us don't actually get to enjoy. I refuse to be someone who's 65 years old and then decides to enjoy my life. It's just not going to happen that way. And not that I'm not enjoying myself now, because I am, but there are things that I haven't been able to do, as you all well know, and anyone who's served understands that, well, you're active duty. You are definitely not in charge of your fate in many ways. And so it's time to do that. It's time to make some more money. It's time to live the life that I really want to live. So, yeah.
Now that's impressive, because it takes people really having to do the navel gazing. And we've talked about this on a couple of shows, the navel gazing, to stop and say, how do I define success by looking at what do I want in life? And we can define success by a dollar amount, but sometimes it's not about the dollar amount if that doesn't truly equate to happiness. We just talked about it earlier in the green room. If, we have a mark on the wall of 1.7 million, well, that 1.7 million is not just that's because that's how much we decided that's for family vacations. That's for this. I mean, there was a way that we got to that. And that's a happy number for James and I to get to wherever we need to be for our businesses. And so for you to decide that's impressive. And I think for people watching this is to understand, you have to figure out how will you define your life? How will you define your success? And for you to decide, hey, I've made 06, just three more, and I can lock that in. I think we joke about Lauren Michaels Harris, but he talks about that a lot, is that 4-letter word is often our undoing. More.
Sure.
O-R-E is usually what is our undoing. And that's
I didn't mean to interrupt, but or the 3-letter word, ego, because that's a lot of times what people stay for: comfort or ego, or a combination of the two. And the alternative is scary, going into the unknown, especially if you're someone like many of us who have served a long, long time. Making that leap is, no matter if you're prepared for it or not, it's a shedding of your identity. It's a shedding of your inherent authority, all of these things that the day you step away, you kind of lose. But if you always look at what you're losing and you're never looking at what you're gaining, you're always going to stay in some sort of comfortable space and you'll never grow. And I know you guys know that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have started multiple businesses. So to me, I would much rather kind of be in charge of the terms of when I leave, rather than the Army say, okay, well, here is your upper limit. Now it's time for you to go. And that's not, I just don't, I have all sorts of love for the Army. I'm still active. I love what I do. So proud of it. But making that decision, here, let me tell you a quick story. And I think I guarantee you someone watching this will have thought this. So when I just said that I was going to leave without having served the requisite 3 years to retire as a colonel, the first thing that people ask is, why don't you want to stay the 3 years? Okay, cool. I've done the math. It's about an extra $500 a month. So you want me to wait 2 years for an extra $500 a month in my retirement pay? I can make $500 with an email times 10. Like, why would I do that? So the finances aren't going to keep you, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense. So then once we eliminate finances as a motivation to stay, then what is it? Well, is it meeting your goals for your lifestyle? And at least that's how I see it. Is this meeting my goal, having the lifestyle and the life that I desire? So I have a framework that I kind of judge people. I didn't mean it that way. I have a framework that I judge my life by. And so it's something that I came up with a while ago, but the 4 things that I am driven by are living a lifestyle that I want, having impact, having financial abundance, and then building teams and communities. And those are the things that I can get in and out of the military. So there's no right or wrong answer. There's zero right or wrong answer. If I stay, that'd be great. If I left, that'd be great. But if I can seek fulfillment in other ways that allow me to grow in those 4 ways, I'm going to do that. And so for me, the lifestyle and the income and the impact and the team are all available outside of the Army as well. So there you go. No,
I think that's beautiful, because that's exactly what James and I are doing now. And it's funny too, because so like I said, in my last job, I was the proponent officer for all the modeling and simulation. So people that don't know what that means is my job was to work, knowledge, skills, attributes, education, and training for all the Army officers, active duty, reserve, and National Guard, on what they do for models and simulations. And it blows their mind that I'm not doing one iota of that now that I've retired. I'm not a GS. I'm not a defense contractor. I'm not doing that. I'm running a freaking TV show here that is helping people with veteran suicide by talking about our struggles and what we do and how there's other ways to do it. James and I are creating courses for growth mindsets and things to do to start your own business or how to survive in business. But, oh, by the way, we're not talking about how to read a P&L, how to do balance sheets or any of that. We're talking about, again, a growth mindset, because that's where we find success in helping to build teams. And it's very similar to what you're talking about, because that's how we define our successes.
Yeah. And so most people, not just in people who serve, most people in general, from my humble experience in life, don't ever ask those hard questions. What excites you? Mm-hmm. What fires you up? If you could get paid to do anything, what would that thing be? What would that thing be? What's your message in life? What's your passion in life? You can monetize anything. Right. Absolutely anything. So what the hell is your passion? And what are you doing with that passion? You can have multiple passions too. And so the idea that you can only be an Army officer, or can only be a business person, or can only be a mom or a dad, like none of that is true. You can do whatever you want. It certainly takes, effort and consistency and some forethought, but you can be anything you want to be. And if there's anything that I can impress upon myself 20 years ago, it's the world is your oyster. And I'm super happy with all of the little forks in the road that I've been at. I'm happy with all the decisions that I've made. But man, if I could go back and start a business 10 years earlier than I did, or, just the idea that you can do multiple things and you can foster different passions. You are not limited by anything. So I love the work that you guys do, because it's that growth mindset that just makes all the difference.
Right.
I just, it's impressive to me because, I left active duty a lot sooner than Marty and yourself was about to leave. But, and so many people get fixated on tabs, badges, awards, rank. And for you to walk away as a full bird colonel, that's a lot, because, when you stay that long, a lot of people put a lot of ownership on that position, as far as, that is their identity. That's who they are. And what happens is when they find themselves, losing that, they have a hard time dealing with it. For myself, I was a GS-11. I was a National Guard Reserves, all those things. And I was just trying to find something that could, fulfill my identity. And then what I ended up having to do is just look in the mirror and say, wait a second, I'm looking at all these outside resources and all outside factors to just define who I am as a person, when I just need to look at myself and just judge myself.
But that's beautiful, because that's the journey that brought you there. I didn't all of a sudden decide one day to start a business, and happy to share that whole story with you guys. But it was an evolution. It was a series of small decisions, but they all started with what you're talking about: is what is the thing that I really want? What is the thing that I really want in life? What is the possibility? Like, there are just the people that come from the military. Most people, if you served, longer than 2 years, number one, you're a leader. You just are. It's in you, and the military brings it out of you. So you're a leader. You're more than likely decent at communication. More than likely, you've got a work ethic. You've got all the skills that you need to succeed in basically anything you do. So it's just a matter of picking what you're passionate about, picking something. Or if you don't know what you're passionate about, try something, right? Follow in the footsteps of someone you admire and see if it works for you. It's funny too, the military is the only career where people think that you've quit after you've done 20 years. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, where did we get that idea? If you met someone on the street and they said, "Oh, I've been a real estate agent for 20 years," you'd go, "Oh man, that's amazing."
Right.
Like when are you going to retire? Or if someone said, "Hey, I'm going to quit the mortgage business after 20 years," people would be like, "Oh, you totally deserve that." Here we're like, slacker. How come you didn't stay another 10? What's wrong with you? You don't want to achieve more? Like, what is that?
One of the other things that we talked about, it's a recurring theme with a different guest now, is we lead with titles.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it carries into our civilian life now. So what do you do? I'm a lieutenant colonel. What do you do? I'm a real estate developer, or I'm this. Well, no, I didn't ask what your title was. I asked, what do you do? And so that's something that James and I have been cognizant of, and we work on that. So what do? We help counter the narrative that we're all broken misfit toys by celebrating veteran success. We have a TV show called Lounge with Legends. Oh, that's what I do. That's not my title. And so the Army, the military in general, puts you in these buckets and says, this is what you do. You are a 70 hotel. You're an 11 alpha. You are whatever. And so it's hard for us, to shed these titles and, get out of this quitter, slacker, or whatever it may be. But that's awesome. I want to hit on why you started your business after the commercial break. But let's go ahead and cut to commercial so we can celebrate our sponsor for next week, Triple Nickel, also like Soraya, out of San Antonio. And then we're going to talk about one of our upcoming guests. We're going to show our upcoming guest, Nick Bear, and his recent partnership with Red, White, and Blue.
My name is Mike Irwin. I'm the founder and the executive director for Team Red, White, and Blue. We're a nonprofit organization on a mission to enrich veterans' lives by forging America's leading veteran health and wellness community. By far, what I'm most excited about in this partnership with BPN and Team RDBB is that both organizations are still just getting started. And so together, through our partnership, as both organizations continue to still grow, we are really excited about reaching many more veterans than we currently have thus far.
There it is. You're watching the Lounge with Legends TV show with your hosts, Marty Martinez and James A. Phelps.
There's James.
Finally, he did it. I got the center stage. Oh, man.
Love that.
Darn it. So close.
All right. So before the break, we spent some time talking about your journey in the military and the unique decision to leave once you achieved the eagle, the rank that everybody strives for in the officer ranks, and because you've decided, or you've defined your own success, and that led you to start your own business. So now let's pivot in the second half to talk about your business and why we named this episode the Stress-Free Warrior. What do I call this one, James? The Stress-Free Warrior. I can't even remember the queen, but Stress-Free Warrior because we were in the Warrior Brigade, in 25th Infantry Division, and stress free because that's kind of how it started, right? You started off with some of your essential oils.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm sure this is a very relatable story, but you take a young woman or man, in my case, a woman, and put her under working conditions for 15, 16 years that are just absolute insanity, where we measure ourselves by the number of hours that we work, or if we're the last one, still in the building at night. Marty, you and I were in this brigade where we were working for basically 5 straight years, all day, every single day, to either prepare or execute this deployment. So anyways, got to the point after about 15, 16 years of this where I was just physically wrecked. And I didn't quite understand what it was. It wasn't showing up as injuries or like a bum knee or anything like that. It was showing up as when I would get home at the end of the day, I would flop down on the couch and I would be so physically exhausted that I couldn't get up. I'm like in my young 30s. That should not be happening. I started noticing that. Then I started kind of losing chunks of my hair, started gaining weight, even though I was running marathons and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I was like, what on earth is happening? And so I ended up going on this kind of journey, figuring out how to eat a little bit more cleanly and healthier, to make sure that I was reducing stress and inflammation in my body, right. Really focus on increasing sleep, all sorts of stuff, but there's still like, I just couldn't get it all together. And so I really went down a rabbit hole of very like mindfulness and creating a life that allowed me to do what I wanted to do instead of letting life kind of wear me down. So one of the tools that I used was essential oils. A friend of mine said, hey, why don't you try some oils? And I was like, at this point, you want to sell me frog's urine, I'll try it. Like, I don't even care what it is. Yes, I will try it. So had no experience with anything like that. Didn't necessarily understand that essential oils are basically just plant juice, and plant and herbal medicine has been around for, millennia, since the dawn of time. Didn't understand that I could use some really cool, simple tools to not only help my physical body, but help my emotions and just my mental health. So I got really into oils for a while, and naturally, just like all of you, when you get excited about something, you start telling people about it, right? Oh, I'm into this new sport or this new thing. Yeah. So I started telling people all about it. And my then boyfriend, now husband, bought a kit, and my friends bought a kit, and I was working out at the gym, and I was like, hey guys, you should try this for, muscle recovery. Instead of popping your Motrin every single night, try this. It'll help your muscles. Things like that. Well, lo and behold, I actually got a little thank you paycheck, and I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, earn a little money here and there, right? Didn't think much of it. Until one day, the girl who had initially recommended oils to me, she said, hey, do you know that you can make some money? And I was like, yeah, like $50, $100, whatever. And she was like, no, I was a corporate executive at Hewlett Packard, and I was able to walk away from my full-time job by doing this on the side. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you have my attention now. Okay, tell me more. So instantly, no joke, in a span of about 30 seconds, I saw the possibility. It's like, okay, well, I'm at 16 years of service right now. If I can just earn a paycheck that covers the difference between my retirement and my lifestyle, I'm good to go. That's all I need, right? Yeah. And so I ended up starting to sell oils on the side, which, you want to talk about ego. You're talking about a senior major, soon to be lieutenant colonel, all of a sudden deciding to sell oils on the internet. Like, what? And so that alone put me through a personal development journey where I had to not only humble myself, but understand that it's not about me and it's about serving other people. I learned all these life lessons, and that's really what got me into personal development. Did that, but I started, as I'm sure you guys understand, I was working at the time as a G3 in the basement of a 2-star headquarters. I did not have time to be inviting my friends over. First of all, I didn't have that many friends because we're in the Army. We don't have a huge social circle. But I didn't have time to be inviting my friends over to my house to show them all these oils. So what did I do? Out of desperation, I turned to the internet. So I started talking about them on Facebook Lives, and I started talking about them on Instagram. And I really found a home on Instagram and ended up growing my business really successfully on Instagram. And so that led into people going, hey, what are you doing that's working? How are you able to meet people? I had no audience. I was one of those people who had like maybe posted twice a year on Facebook, didn't have an open Instagram. So it's not like I was some influencer or anything like that. Had zero social media presence, but was able to figure it out through a lot of trial and error. At that time, Instagram was young enough that there weren't courses you could really take. So it was just figuring stuff out. Eventually, people started to come to me saying, hey, will you teach me what you're doing? And so little by little, I started teaching classes on Instagram. Then I created a course on Instagram. And now I do lots of social media consulting. So I consult for businesses, mostly personal brands, though. So people who have brands that center around themselves as a personality. And I basically coach them and consult and make sure that they are able to grow on social media, get their message out on social media, and then ultimately make sales. So, but I still sell oils, and I still absolutely love turning people on to just some tools that can help them live a more fulfilled and natural life.
So what I love about this is that, and why I told James that you're perfect for this show is that, because I think, I don't know if you and I talked about this or I read this somewhere or I was one of your podcasts or something, but this show is about people that are in a dark place or struggling with, something in the military's happened. You're in a place and you're like, this just sucks. And you basically have turned a mess into success. And now you said, not only did I turn this mess into success, I'm turning down 06. I'm making this into, now you've been an Entrepreneur Magazine, Yahoo Finance said you're a social media coach of the year, and was a top 30 iTunes coach. I mean, your podcast, this is exactly what we're talking about. Is if you're in a place where you're struggling, you just got to figure out how to hunt the good stuff and figure out how you can turn this into, get out of that hole, get past yourself, get off the couch. Like you said, you're losing your hair. I lose my hair too. I wish I could blame it on, having essential oils, but probably just because I'm a fat Mexican. But
nobody noticed that you're losing your hair, Marty. Trust me. Only I noticed that.
Okay. Just so y'all know, James and I have lots of whiteboard discussions. And whenever I'm on here talking about how we're going to create a click funnel or something, instead of focusing on the funnel, he focuses on the bald spot. So
it's good. That's what good friends do.
The
other thing you're talking about, Marty, as well, is that she's able to not only do this, but do it well. I can say I've been taking their academy, and it's challenging and very informative, and you got to put in some work. And that's what it's about. But you're also guiding people and then encouraging. Your whole life, even though you didn't know in the beginning when you started in the military, it's about service, and you're continuing to serve others. And one thing that I'm noticing in the entrepreneur space that's successful is people are leading with value and service, and they're not focusing on me. It's not about that, right? I always say it 100 times. It's not about me, never has been, never will be. And you've got that mastered down. I mean, you have it. You're growing, you're crushing it. You're doing all these great things. And, I'm just honored to even say that, I took your class.
Thank you. I mean, thank you, James. That's probably the highest compliment that you can pay, is that, I lead with value. Thankfully, I did what I now tell people to do. Is when I first started my business, I hired a coach. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't have time to spend 10 years figuring it out. I wanted results now. And so I hired a coach. And the first thing my coach taught me is give it all away. Give it all away. It's like, wait, what? What do you mean give it all away? He's like, you need to teach everything that you learn online. Teach all of it. Like, okay, doesn't that mean that people won't buy from me? Lack mindset, right? Didn't understand that, no, it doesn't mean that people will not buy from you. It means that people will trust you and get to know you and feel like you're their friend. And they will start to they'll start to understand that you know what you're talking about. And then they will hire you over everybody else. So my entire business model is all predicated on giving away valuable information, whether it be through my podcast or on Instagram or live streams or anything. I will teach everybody everything that I know. And so I see so many business owners struggle with this. Why won't people buy my t-shirts? Why won't people hire my landscaping company? Why won't people do this for me? It's because you haven't done anything for them. They don't know you. They don't trust you. Like we are well beyond the days of a business model where you can just post your stuff in the phone book and like expect people to buy, right? Or today's version, slap up a website and think you're going to crush it. It doesn't work like that. Like nothing in business works like that anymore. It's how can you serve people, build up that know, like, and trust factor, and then be the person that people think of when they think of your space, right? So the next time I think of hiring a plumber, it's probably going to be the guy who was teaching me DIY plumbing tricks and how to fix my own leaks on YouTube, right? It's not going to be some random person on a website. So that right now, and I think for the foreseeable future, is number one, the thing that I see most people can improve upon. And number two, it's just fun. It's how you build community, right? We're talking about turning a dark time or something that is a negative in your life into a positive. You better believe that I've built a community of people who are there for me. Friends, some of my closest friends, in fact, all of my closest friends right now are people that I've either met online or met through my business. So the idea that we can't build communities through service is just crazy. So I hope that I hope there's somebody listening who's been struggling with their marketing that takes that to heart and starts leading with value.
That's huge, and that's something that people need to understand is leading with value and learning how to simplify your message and not make it about you. That was something that I learned out of necessity as a once I left the infantry and became a modeling and simulation officer, just slightly sexier than the NBC officer is the guy who's coming and going, "Sir, I can help you streamline your modeling and simulation project." I realized that I had to figure out what my message was. So I started reading Donald Miller. This isn't a prop, it's actually behind me.
My favorite book.
Right. So reading this book, understanding the SB7 framework, so that I could realize it's not about me. And so that turned my elevator pitch into when I walked into the CG.
By the way, I didn't plan this, but I've got a blank storyboard format right there. So that's how obsessed I am with that book, just so you know.
I can't be outdone. I
know. I'm a huge fan. It's so important. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Artie, but I thought that was funny. I was just filling one out last night. So
I started to teach this when I became the proponent officer to my officers. They say, "Look, nobody cares about you guys. Yep. Nobody cares that you're going to help do X, Y, and Z." And so when you have an opportunity to meet, at this time, it was the commanding general of the task force, who literally has enough time to walk from his office to the water cooler and, "Hey, Marty, what do you do? Let's walk and talk." Well, you have that much time to say, "Sir, you have, those days where you have umpteen million emails and you have to make these decisions and all these meetings and you don't know if you're winning or losing with all the decisions you have to make?" Absolutely. I'm the guy that helps you streamline your decision-making to make sure you have the right information at the right time. I'm your knowledge management officer. Holy shit. Yeah. Okay. I can get on your schedule if you want, sir. We can talk about it real quick. Okay, cool. Let's do that. That's how you streamline it. That's how you make sure that your message is there. So we'll put a link in here for this book if you guys are interested, but understanding by doing that, that's your first step in leading with value, because it's not about you. It's about understanding who your client is and who you're going to, and that also helps you when you get into the entrepreneur space of that avatar. Who's that person you're actually selling to? Otherwise, you're just, as we talk about in leadership, if you're leading and nobody's behind you, you're just out for a walk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But so what you just described is basically what I coach and consult on. Yeah. That's it. It's how do you use social media? So everyone's like, "Oh, I'm a social media coach." And I tell people I'm a social media coach, but in essence, I'm a messaging coach. Mm-hmm. I'm a messaging coach. I'm not teaching you how to press the button to post on Instagram. I'm not teaching you how to press the button to post on LinkedIn. I'm teaching you how to connect with the person that's on the other side of that screen. That can be done via TV, via radio, via podcasts, via YouTube. It does not matter. Pick your platform, but you've got to, in order to grow your business, you have to pick somewhere to live. You can't be successful in all of them. Right. Pick somewhere to live, pick a channel where you want to get your message across based on who you want to reach, and then just drive value all day long. So yeah, I love this stuff. I could talk about this all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. And we probably need to set up a call just with us, because I think we could definitely crush something with this, because James and I talk about this. And so we have another coach that we do, and I love her exercises. She talks about it from the backwards, is we write a thank you letter from our avatar, and it's basically after they've had their service, they're saying, hey, after I met you, I had X, Y, blah, blah, bam. And that was like one of the, because we always talk about avatars and all this stuff. And at the end, it was like, oh my gosh, this was so cool. After I met you, we did bam, 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 bam. And James and I were like, dude, this is it. This is what we need to do. So it was a before and after. We call our avatar G.I. Joe, because we're focused on the veteran entrepreneur.
Sure.
And it's good to give them a name. So, but we noticed that, I posted in there while you were speaking. Sorry. But so Nick said needs help with this for his little business. So we've
well, let me tell Nick, first thing, words matter. It's not a little business. You need to take the word little out of there.
Right. That goes
help
back
you with this, my business. That's what I'll tell you, Nick.
Episode 2 with Laura Michaels Harris. Those are words that deceive.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. It's words with my growing business.
Yeah.
Because that gets in your mind as part of that growth mindset. I need help with my business, because you need to grow that. My recommendation is you can check out, here's Soraya's information. If you're looking at it, bam.
Hit me up, Nick.
Check it out. Check out the, James will put it in there, or I'll put it in there after this, for this book, Self-Educate, Don't Self-Medicate, Self-Educate, Building a Story Brand. You can check it out with Building a Story Brand. I hooked James up with the SB7 framework. That's one of the things, but like Soraya said, hire a coach. That's one of the biggest things you can do. And then if you're also, my other recommendation is check out Business Made Simple. That's another good book. But
Donald Miller and his team are incredible, and there's lots of people who package the same stuff up. Brandon Lucero does a really good job for online coaches as messenger and helping them with their messaging. And we all need it. In fact, funny enough, I'm actually meeting with my coach tomorrow to redo and tighten up my messaging, because it's been a while since I've looked at it. So, if I could give any tip to people, and I get people all the time, like, how do I promote my business? How do I promote my business? What is your potential customer looking for? Right. What are they looking for? What do they want in life? You don't have to worry about like what's their name or what kind of car they drive. There's all sorts of weird avatar exercises that I think are quite frankly kind of stupid. But what you do need to know is, what do they want? Right. What do they want? I work with people who want to grow their businesses on social media. Pretty simple. They want more exposure, they want more leads, and they want a method to make sales on social media. So I've got that down. So I could talk all day about what that, like what the fears are and the desires, but every business should be really clear on who are they trying to sell to. What I hear all the time, I did a consultation for somebody, and I normally work with personal brands, so it's a little bit easier, or it's just, I guess, maybe what I prefer, maybe not easier, but I did make an exception, and I did a social media review and consultation for a guy who sells t-shirts. And he says, I don't know what my customer wants. They just want t-shirts. And I'm like, well, there's a difference between like a golfing t-shirt and a t-shirt that is from a high-end spa resort. There's a difference between that and a t-shirt that a teenager is going to wear to make themselves look cool at school versus a t-shirt that an 80-year-old man might want to wear because it reminds him of a good time that he's had in the past. Like, t-shirts are not for everybody all at once, right? What does your customer want? Who are you speaking to? When that gets clear, all the rest of your social media is actually very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
the biggest struggle that I think most people have. Like even myself working with you, my story is I got to get it in line. I've like kind of here, there, got everything everywhere. So I'm just now trying to get everything in line. So I'm telling one story and not confusing my customer.
Yeah. And it's a journey. So if anybody is struggling with this or needs help with it, first of all, everybody struggles with this at the beginning. There's a very few exceptions. There are some people who are clear from the beginning, but I mean, it's a rarity. It's a rarity. Most people have to work this out, and most people have to refine their message over time. And then you evolve as a person. So your message changes over time. Businesses evolve. So it's not simple stuff, but it can be simplified.
Hey, Soraya, we're getting to the top of the hour, so I want to close this.
Sure.
One, by thanking you for being our legend on the show. And then, of course, I'm going to ask you the question, especially because you and I served together in one of the longest deployments I had, which was 15 months up in Taji. So
I was there. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was there 16 months. I was on the first flight in and the last flight out. When I tell people that I was in Iraq for 16 months, people don't believe me. They're like, oh, how many deployments was that? 3? And I'm like, no, 1. That was 1.
One. We were
basically PCS there.
Yeah, we were there in November. I know I was there in November of 07 to April of 09. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was forever. But so we missed 2 Christmases and 2 New Years. So freedom for us as combat veterans means something different. So we ask you, Soraya, what does freedom mean to you?
Okay, so that's a big question, as you know, and can be interpreted lots of ways. So for me right now, freedom means that I have the ability to make my life look the way that I want it to look. That to me is my ultimate goal. It's something I'm passionate about. It's basically my message and the reason why I got into business. You can make your life look like anything. And if you're doubting yourself, that just means that you have some mental blocks and some mental limitations. Because for most of us watching this, right, on the internet, in a civilized world, the world is your oyster. And so for me, my service in the military is in direct support of this. It's how can we help create and sustain a nation that continues to provide us the ability to be whatever we want and do whatever we want. And so you can take that into your own life, like we talked about, like what is freedom? What is the freedom to do what you want in your own life? How do I create a life that fulfills me? So it's just something that I'm really passionate about, having the ability to choose. Like some people might call it manifestation, right? That's the spiritual woo-woo way of describing it. But really it's, you can be anything you want to be. You can talk about anything you want to talk about, and you can do whatever it is that you want to do to really be your best self, provide for your family, experience the world, commune with others. And so, yeah, that's my version of freedom.
No, it's awesome. I love this question because it means something different to everybody, and that's why we ask it. And it's so cool listening to everyone's answers. So I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you guys for having me. This is so much fun, and congratulations on your show. I cannot wait to continue to watch episodes and see this blow up and see what becomes of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait till we can, once the COVID restrictions are all done and we can start doing this in person and get an actual studio, so I'm not here in the evil underground layer of my basement.
But you know what? Like, this works. The internet is a beautiful place.
It is. It's actually cheaper than flying everyone out.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't need to be in the studio. Your message is getting across just fine.
But
thank you so much.
So we thank you for your service, and we appreciate everything. So
thank you, guys.
I'll put you in the green room, and I thank you. All right, James, how about that episode? Was that amazing or what?
Yeah, I tell you, I was about to do some push-ups for the Colonel, though. I was supposed to do push-ups there before we left. But on a serious note, I see her contact information still scrolling at the bottom. Make sure that you reach out. You talk about a great coaching experience and a great overall just mindset that'll help you with your mindset. You need to reach out to her. She can definitely help your business. Absolutely.
What I think is unique is that not only did I serve with Soraya, but the fact that she's your coach now, she's helping you. And so we can attest to both sides of what she's doing. And it's really unique. And the fact that she is our first still serving active duty guest on the show. So I love the fact that she came. She saw that she had a lot of stress and then turned that into her business and now her coaching. And it's what an amazing story. So if you're interested, look down, you can see it scrolling and there's her information. And the next week, please tune in. We're going to have Lauren Michaels Harris and JB Hasso. And that's how we're going to have a special Pride episode to close out June, and just stay tuned. So James, like always, I thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for your service.
You've been watching the Lounge with Legends show on E360 TV, countering the narrative that veterans are all broken misfit toys. Veterans are the lifeblood of American freedom. Serving in harsh situations, coupled with their training, have forged them into some of the most resilient and capable leaders in the world. And that's where we come in, celebrating the success stories, taking you on a journey of transformation from military to business. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll be back soon. But find us on Facebook at Lounge with Legend or at JTF214. Till next time.